MacKaskill.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm happy to support the SNP in this motion. The Alba Party endorses it. Obviously, it seems to us a microcosm of a wider issue, which is a diverging of two societies and different positions that are understandably being taken by their governments, reflecting perhaps the wider views of the people. Because immigration is being seen south of the border as a danger, as a threat, something that has to be clamped down on. Whereas in Scotland, immigration is seen as a necessity and indeed an opportunity and something to be supported. And that has been something that is now reflected in the political direction of the governments. Dealing first of all with immigration, it's something that's been with Scotland since almost time immemorial. It's reflected in our place names. Argyll, after all, is the land of the Eastern Gale. It's where people came when they came originally from Ireland. Sutherland may be in the northmost part of Scotland, but it's actually in it's the Southlands if you come from Scandinavia or the north. So our place names reflect it, and that has continued as people have come from south of the border. They've come from Italy, Ireland. They've now come from India, China, and Africa. But especially in recent years, they have come from the European Union and especially from Central and Eastern Europe. And that has been a good thing. They've come here and made Scotland their home. It's only a few years back that 1 in 10 children born in Scotland had a Polish mother. They have made Scotland a better place, enhanced our communities and benefited our economy. But the flip side to immigration is emigration. And that's why immigration is also required in Scotland, because as well as immigration forging our nation, emigration has scarred our nation. Sometimes it's come about through hardship and indeed through brutality, as we know with the Highland clearances. More often, people have left for opportunity or for love. Equally, though, many people have had to go because they lacked opportunities due to the mismanagement of the economy, especially by British governments in recent years. Those of us who grew up in Scotland in the 1970s and 80s have seen our classmates from the years before in our school have to go south or abroad. That's why hardly a Scottish family doesn't have a relative in Australia, Canada, or some other place in the New World. But it gives a different perspective. It's why we recognise that immigration is just part of it, and immigration is something that we should have and is a benefit to our society. The EU settlement scheme is causing fear. It's causing alarm, as people have narrated. It's causing disruption in our economy, not simply in agriculture and hospitality and HGV. Even today, the Transport Secretary is having to announce changes that would be much easier if we just had the available labour that primarily was coming from Eastern Europe or East European drivers coming in. That's why the Scottish economy requires it. Our economy, as well as our society, is being damaged by it. Some proposals, some changes by the government extending the scheme, of course they are welcome. It can be ameliorated. A decision to take a view that's much more supportive of those who, for whatever reason, fair to apply is to be welcomed. But equally, it doesn't go far enough. Scotland requires its own immigration policy. I'm not going to go into the question of an immigration policy at independence. That's for another date. But immigration can most certainly be dealt with in a devolved system. That is something that has previously been talked about by the Tory government, and its failure to be delivered is shameful and is damaging us. It is available, as the mover of the motion had referred to, in the Isle of Man, but equally it applies in South Australia, where they have distinct needs for perhaps more different economic areas in New South Wales or indeed in Victoria. It also applies in Quebec, as been mentioned. Now, I did listen to the honourable member for Edinburgh South going on about how it was apparently opposed in some areas of Canada. But let's be quite clear that in Canada, no federal government has sought to remove the scheme whereby there is a distinct immigration policy to the province of Quebec. No political party, mainstream political party, as far as I'm aware, in Quebec is seeking to remove it or would seek to abandon it. And I think, Madam Deputy Speaker, what that tells us is that even Quebec Tories are more radical in immigration than Scottish Labour or the Scottish Liberal Democrats, who don't seem to want something that applies even in countries that operate within a federal or devolved structure. Scotland requires the same powers that are available not simply in the Isle of Man, but do apply in Quebec and in Australia. It's for that reason that I support this motion. Not simply to stand up for immigrants and for those immigrants who have come here from the EU who make our country a better place, but to make sure that our country can be the land that we know it can be. And to do that, as through past centuries going back into the millennia. We require people to come here, to make this their home, to work here and make our society better. And to do that, to achieve that, we require powers of immigration. That can be dealt with without independence. But if the Tory government won't give us it, then there's no alternative but to obtain independence to deliver the society that our people are entitled to live in. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Hannah.